might have a bit of material. The polished granite, the polished andesite, the polished diorite. Those three materials can very easily get stored away in deep storage. However, I do not currently have anything for like putting them in deep storage. Oh, cool. I managed to use up a bunch of sticks. I don't remember what I used all those sticks on, but I used them. Let's combine these tridents. There we go. Got that taken care of. Ooh, that's a nice book. Right. I was here for the deep storage. Additionally, I need to make sure that this does not run out of materials. Any cobblestone? No. Dirt? Yes, plenty. Okay, I believe dirt was here. Okay, then we've got gravel. Yep. And the next stop appears to be grass. And over here, we deposit the excess. And then we get to run all the way over here. We get to deposit the redstone, as well as the powered rail, but we need regular rails. Therefore, we shall make regular rails. Make a stack of iron, rails, stack of rails, 2 stack of rails, three stack of rails. Yep, okay. Deposit the copper. Deposit the extra rails that I know for sure are extra rails. I made way too many rails. Oop, before I hop in, I should go ahead and grab my smooth stone. There we go. Now I can hop in, right? Yeah. Now I hop in, go forward. Deposit those there. My iron armor is still at roughly half health. That's fine. Words of the character Burb from my D&D campaign. Hippity hoppity, get off of my property. Burb is the Kenku monk. He is similar in form to a bluebird. Specifically, the lore behind my campaign before I mention that, this is a good time to mention that it is a good point in time to leave a like on the video. That is my phone reminding me that my battery was low. There we go. This is a good time to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you think in the comments of my video. You can leave a comment on the video at the end of the video, or right now. Right now is preferable because, you know, you can edit the comment later if you so desire. But this way you won't forget. But, you know, if you like this kind of content, then it definitely does help to go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and subscribe. The amount of videos that I upload is indeed rather absurd. I upload a lot of videos. Let's see, if I do one there and there, yeah. I can do one there. Then I can place one there as well. That's going to be for stopping. But yeah, it helps my channel a lot if you leave a like on the video. It helps my channel a lot if you subscribe. It might actually help more if you subscribe. I do intend to update my playlist with a proper template. If you look at the first 100 videos in my playlist, you will see that proper template is already chosen and already picked out, and I can very easily apply the template. The problem is that it takes me about 12 minutes per video to apply that template, which is, in my opinion, a little bit unacceptable. And mind you, that's when using each video has its own tab. I can open multiple tabs in the background. You know, right-click, open a new tab, right-click, open a new tab, etc., etc. Rinse and repeat type of situation. However, it still takes an absurdly long amount of time. Way longer than it should take, in theory. Or at least realistically longer than it should take. The Kenku that I mentioned is the Articuno person that you might have seen message earlier when I was discussing how my D&D players might be arranging a D&D session, very impromptu and very sudden, but, you know, still effective. There we go. I just gave the minecart just the slightest of nudges, and it finally touched the cactus and was like, oh, I'm supposed to, like, jump in this hopper. It's like, yeah, you're supposed to jump in the hopper. You might have noticed I was setting up a system for stopping that does not make use of any form of automatically damaging section, such as a cactus. The reason for that is very straightforward, very simple. I didn't want to utilize a cactus for it. I actually had entirely forgotten that a cactus was even an option, to be honest. So, whoops, I guess? Maybe? Oh no, that's right. I wanted like 3 of them, didn't I? Yeah, because I'm using 3 of them for the emergency brake, and then 1 for the booster for going outbound. And then I need to put away the dirt as well. I suppose I shall move the nuggets down there. This seems to have finished, therefore I shall put those down. I shall pick these up, place that stuff there, craft that, deposit that, come over here, grab my minecart, open this barrel, deposit the dirt, place the minecart, walk over to here, well, ride over to here in my minecart. Oh, there was slime in there. Is there slime in there? No. Where did I keep the slime? There it is. Okay. Bit of backstory about my campaign. My campaign, my D&D campaign that is set in the year of 9001. The year is 9001, and the campaign setting is Earth. However, since it is the year 9001, obviously the Earth is quite old. Comparatively. You know, it's currently the year 2021, realistically. However, in my campaign setting, it is the year 9001. If the players wanted to be something a little bit futuristic, they would want to actually go for something similar to Demolition Man in their origin story, because the problem with doing futuristic in my campaign is that my campaign has a similar situation that Philip J. Fry had from Futurama, and that is that civilization has been repeatedly built up and destroyed and built up and destroyed. And this happened over and over until basically the most advanced technologies were simply lost to time. The technology of gun making, the technology of ceramics, the technology of modern armor, or at least modern ceramics. They obviously have some ceramics. Ceramic work is one of the oldest technologies on the planet. Like, they can obviously do pottery, but stab-proof ballistic plating, they don't have that. But they do have things such as, a vase, or maybe an urn, or stuff like that. But they won't have, any sort of normal, regular body armor. They do medieval body armor, plate armor, chainmail, leather, studded leather, stuff like that. The weaponry would obviously suffer from similar setbacks, where the modern weaponry has all been forgotten. Handguns, rifles, sniper, machine gun, you name it. Those have all been long since forgotten. However, the medieval weaponry, swords, daggers, crossbows, those still are a very viable option because they're very reliable, they're very easy to build, they're very simple weapons in concept and simple weapons in design as well. I don't know if you've ever actually tried to build a hand crossbow, but they are actually surprisingly easy to build with relative ease. I might want to bring some of these downstairs in order to resupply the furnaces down there. Pretty soon I will want to actually be heading down to the village in order to grab some villagers, as these rail lines are getting really close to just it being time to connect them all. Anyways, you know, my campaign setting has a medieval start. My campaign setting has a basic concept of if you want to have something done, then you can hire adventurers for it, for example, stuff like that. But for magic, the concept of magic was brought forth by this is actually something my players have not yet discovered. The concept of magic was brought forth by a wizard who was actually just this really, really nerdy guy. And he was just a big fan of, the Dungeons and Dragons series. He'd gathered all of the books, literally all of the books. And he was studying them, and he was positive that there was some sort of conspiracy about how if you did this one ritual just right, you could unleash the powers contained within these books. And he wasn't entirely wrong. However, his problem was the timing and implementation, as he was kind of under a lot of pressure to figure out how to do this before he got caught. Because at the time, it was actually an incredibly dangerous thing for him to be trying to do that. It wasn't very legal, some of the things that he was doing at the time, and some of the things that he was doing was kind of just weird as far as how people acted at the time. He was definitely not an ordinary person, but he was additionally not exactly evil. He just didn't quite have the proper knowledge that was required to avoid disaster, basically. He tried to do a few things in his attempts to escape, which did not go as planned. He, for starters, tried to hide in a portable hole that he had managed to acquire through his experiments and research. This portable hole provided a temporary safety for him, in that he was trying to hide from these big brutish types that had busted down his door to try and apprehend him. In the process, however, they failed to account for just how crafty he was, in addition to failing to account for the possibility that he might succeed. They had not considered that he might succeed. They thought he was just some crazy old man who was doing all kinds of weird experiments. just some fanatic nerd who was trying to start another cult, in their opinion. But in the process, they ended up reaching this tipping point where when they ended up cutting the man down, it ended up completing one of what the man thought was a failed ritual. However, it turned out that the ritual was actually done properly, and it just needed one last final component, which the man had not yet gotten around to researching. He needed the blood of a freshly slain human. Now, had he known that that was the material requirement that he was lacking, he probably would not have done it. However, in the ensuing fight that he had with his attackers, he ended up dying because they were very well prepared for him, and he was not exactly very well prepared for them. That's just tactics. They knew what he was. He didn't know in advance what they were. He knew what they were once they showed up, but by then it was too late to prepare, and they were already on his doorstep going, hey, let us in or we'll huff and puff and blow your house down type of thing. They didn't actually do that, but it's a euphemism for saying, we're here to stop you, and we're not going to take no for an answer. And it's like, oh, well, that's not good because I don't want to be stopped. And so he was like, okay, well, I'm going to hide in this portable hole. And they ended up, going through his notes, and they ended up trying to see what he was up to. And he ended up leaping out of his safety of his portable hole, and he tried to attack them. However, in the ensuing fight, he ended up dying, but his death ended up causing a portal to open up, which allowed the connection to the astral plane to stabilize, as well as the connection to the Feywild at the same time. I don't know if you're familiar with both of those planes simultaneously, but one of those is basically the plane of the afterlife. That would be the astral plane. It's the plane of spirits, the plane of ghosts, and the plane of basically things that have recently died, very recently. As once they have actually passed on, they do eventually head to the other planes in order to get their final respite. However, in the process of opening this portal to the astral plane, as well as it was the ethereal plane. My apologies. In order for him to open this portal to the ethereal plane, he needed a blood sacrifice. He ended up being that blood sacrifice, and he obviously regretted it because he didn't want to die, but he ended up creating a stable connection to the Feywild as well. Now, the Feywild is just magic, magic, magic. Everywhere is just so full of magic. There's magic in the air, there's magic in the fairies, there's magic in the elves, there's magic in the trees themselves. There's magic everywhere. If there was underwear there, it would be magic. Just magic underwear, There's just that much magic. There's magic to spare. But in the process of all of that, he ended up with a bit of a problem. You see, that much magic suddenly coming into contact with Earth as we know it is not a good thing, obviously. There was panic, there was fighting, there was lots and lots and lots of destruction, specifically locally, because what ended up happening next was the guy ended up with a crater where his house used to be, and that crater ended up being approximately 3 miles wide. It's a very large crater, and for good reason. That much magic concentrated into a single location. He's lucky it was only 3 miles. He was not prepared for having that much magic flowing into one location. He was not prepared for just having that much magic in general, really. But he did manage to salvage one thing from the encounter, and that is he managed to create a method for everyone to enjoy Dungeons and Dragons, which was his intended purpose. That was literally the purpose of his cult, is he just wanted to create a realistic Dungeons and Dragons. That was his whole goal, and he succeeded. But the problem is that in the act of succeeding, he kind of doomed the planet, because all of a sudden, everyone, everywhere could use magic. Basically, that was the induction of first edition. Now, in this world concept, that would have been around the year 3500. Keep in mind, I mentioned that my realm is, my Dungeons and Dragons realm is set in the year 9001. That means that this happened roughly a third the way through the eons that basically led up to what is in my game present day. This has caused many issues amongst scholars and hold on. Amongst scholars and casters and various other studious types, people who study. It's caused many a issue of intrigue, because you have this guy who, as far as anyone knows, was just this crazy old coot trapped in his castle, where some people showed up to whoop his butt, and I guess something happened, and then apparently there was magic everywhere. That's as far as anyone really knows. But in the process of all of that, there is a few things that are, verifiable. People can agree, yes, that was when the connection was established with the Feywild. Yes, that was when the connection was actually established and stabilized with the border ethereal. There had been some sporadic connection with the border ethereal, or as we more commonly refer to it these days, the spectral plane. That is the plane of the afterlife, the plane of ghosts, the plane of spirits. That is a that's basically phantasmophobia. The the place where all of the things from Phantasmophobia comes from, basically. That is the plane that the guy ended up creating a connection to, is the same place that all of those things came from, as well as many more things. That's not the only thing that's in there, obviously. That's just the things that are bad enough to escape. There's things that are good as well, but, you don't hear about the good ones, do you? Like fairies and pixies and stuff, or maybe just helpful ghosts, Anyways, the guy managed to establish this connection, and the resulting event was a cataclysmic explosion. I believe it would be categorized as a semi-nuclear event, at the very least, as it was quite potent. It, shook the very foundations which his castle was built upon. He was very nearly killed by the explosion itself, in addition to, of course, all of the people trying to actually actively kill him, obviously. But he did manage to succeed in at least creating a stable connection. Now, as far as how many scholars can agree on that, well, it's kind of up in the air. Some people will agree with it, some people won't. It's kind of a mystery, but that's how the magic influx happened. And with the connection to the Feywild, that obviously brought the elves. The dwarves followed later, as the elves started mining alongside the humans for resources. They ended up breaching the deeper portions of the underground, which the dwarves were living in, and that connected to the Underdark, where the Duragar was as well, alongside the Mind Flayers and a bunch of other nasty things. But, they got dwarves out of the deal, so that's good. And then, on top of that, they still managed to, eventually find the gnomes amongst the citizens that were, revealed in the inevitable wars that ensued, because now all of a sudden you have all of this territory, you have the elves, you have humans, you have dwarves, you're all competing for resources on one rock, and basically you're all going, I want that ore, I want this ore, I want that territory, I want this territory, and it's like, oh my goodness, people, calm it down, you're gonna tear yourselves apart. And sure enough, they went to war over it, and they ended up having this massive battle where the dwarves brought up their massive drilling machines, and they started literally undermining entire cities, just destroying them, just digging out the foundations. The elves had massive magical events that basically ripped entire cities from the ground and flung them into the sky, or they would summon gigantic treants and they would enchant the trees and bring the forests to life. and they would awaken the various plants and animals and send them after the humans and the dwarves alike, and people were just at war with each other, and all of this war ended up bringing forth the denizens of Avernus, which is to say demons, devils, and fiends. The Abyss had not yet been a thing. Keep in mind, the Abyss was made later. The Abyss is actually younger than the Prime Material Plane in 5th edition. So the Abyss comes later. But the demons and the devils and the fiends all were, present and accounted for, and they were, going, oh, well, you want this guy dead, and I want your soul. And it's like, oh, this is not going well for me. No, it's not. Do you know why? Because you made a deal with a devil. And it's like, oh, well, that explains everything, doesn't it? Yes, it does. You make a deal with a devil, and you kind of get burned. That's just how it goes. Anyways, the various devils and devilkin and demons ended up all aggregating and collecting their proverbial collected strengths, or collective strengths, I should say. They aggregated their collective strengths and abilities, and they ended up, summoning forth a massive portal that they had hoped to bring forth the armies of hell, as it were, and just basically wreak havoc upon the mortals, as entire towns ended up getting the souls of their denizens sold off to these devils and demons and archfiends, as they tried to fend off the various archfey and dwarves and Duergar and mind flayers